Chapter 10. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After the knock on the door, before the people in the office responded, the people outside pushed the door open. The figures of two middle-aged men walked in. Seeing the person coming, Director Luo stood up abruptly and exclaimed, "Principal. Why are you here?" The principal didn't answer Director Luo's question, but glared at Director Luo. After Wei's father arrived at the school, he happened to meet the principal, and it was the principal who took him to find the dean's office. They had stood outside the door for a while just now, and they had heard clearly the result of Director Luo's handling. Father Wei walked to Wei Lizhou's side, took a look at his son, and saw that he was not missing any arms or legs, so he was secretly relieved. Wei Lizhou opened his mouth and called "Dad" to him, and Wei's father pretended to be cold and nodded his head in response. When Zhu Qingyu's mother Lu Jing saw Father Wei's tall and burly appearance, and then saw his casual attire, she felt that he must not be a rich man. Lu Jing arrogantly rolled her eyes at Wei's father, and then complained to the principal. "Principal, you came just in time. I would like to ask how your school is run, what kind of students are recruited. Our sons I have suffered a great grievance today." Lu Jing originally thought that when she said this, people from the other families would agree with her, but they were as quiet as quails. She didn't notice that the people from the other families looked at Father Wei in shock. It was only in the past 2 years that Lu Jing became eligible to attend various business dinners with Jufu. Therefore, they did not recognize Father Wei, but they had seen Father Wei's face before he retired. Facing Lu Jing's questioning, the principal looked calm, and he said slowly, "Ms. Lu, what is going on? Please allow me to investigate and monitor and then give you an answer." "Don't worry, we will handle this matter fairly according to school regulations of." After the principal finished speaking, he walked to Director Luo's desk and clicked on the surveillance video on the computer screen at that time. Father Wei and Lu Jing also just saw the complete story of this incident at this time. After watching the surveillance video, Wei's father leaned into Wei Lizhou's ear and praised in a low voice. "Good job, I didn't embarrass you." Wei Lizhou raised his eyebrows. "It's up to you to say." Yu Yiqing on the side. The principal turned off the surveillance screen, looked up at the parents and said, "Everyone has already learned clearly through the surveillance. Both parties in this incident were at fault, but they are the first offenders. They have never been punished before, so they, the few who participated in the fight, were punished by cleaning the school gate for a week, as a warning to others." Zhu Qingyu's mother, Lu Jing, exploded when she heard this, and shouted, "Why? Didn't you just say that you would let this person drop out of school? Why did it suddenly become cleaning the school gate, and why should our children be punished?" Lu Jing has objections to the result of the principal's handling. But the parents of the other dog legs have no objection. "Principal, you can just punish my child. He deserves the beating. If you want to blame this matter, blame my child for being mean, and he didn't provoke Wei Lizhou in advance. I would also like to thank classmate Wei Lizhou for letting my family suffer such a cripple. Otherwise, he might make something wrong in the future. That's right. I've wanted to teach my grandson a lesson for a long time, but today I want to thank classmate Wei Lizhou for saving me effort. My monkey should clean the school gate for a few days and calm down, otherwise cats and dogs will hate it all day long." Lu Jing was stunned. Did they have a fever? People in these families have to rely on Zhu's resources on weekdays. Therefore, Lu Jing's attitude towards them was also shouting, quite arrogant. She angrily accused the rest of the parents. "What's the matter with you? What's wrong with this punishment? Why should my precious son Qingyu clean the school gate? What a shame. Going out of school, just let him sweep the school gate, this is too cheap for him." Seeing the current situation, Yu Weiyun and Yan Kaichen were also a little confused. Yan Kaichen looked at Father Wei's face, a thoughtful flash of thought flashed in his eyes. This person gave him a sense of familiarity. After Lu Jing reprimanded the other parents, she was not satisfied. She pointed at Father Wei again and said arrogantly. Tell me, where do you work? Now I not only want your son to drop out of school, I also want you the boss fired you. Your family will never survive in Haicheng. Father Wei calmed down and said slowly, today is my first day reporting to Wei's group. Lu Jing's eyes were fierce. Okay. Your family will wait for me. Today I want to let you know who is not to be messed with in Haicheng. You, the Wei group's job, will not be able to keep your job in the future. When a parent on the side heard what Lu Jing said, he couldn't help but gasped. Good guy, even if Zhu Dong is here, he wouldn't dare to say such big words. Sure enough, those who don't know are fearless. Finally, there was a parent who couldn't see it, so she couldn't help pulling Lu Jing's sleeve, and persuaded in a low voice. Lu Jing, you should talk less. Lu Jing shook her hand away impatiently, go away, leave me alone. Seeing this, the parent had no choice but to say bluntly. You can see better. The person in front of you is Mr. Wei Shunfeng, the founder of the Wei Group. Ah! What did you say? Lu Jing's surprised and sharp voice instantly resounded throughout the office. The other parent also nodded affirmatively at this time. Yes, you are not mistaken and you heard it right, it is the Wei Group that came to your mind the first time. Both Wei's Group and Zhujia are currently developing mainly in the real estate field. However, Wei's family is involved in more business fields than Zhu's, which specializes in real estate. Yu Weiyun, Yan Kaichen, Director Luo and the others were also shocked at this time. Yu Weiyun muttered to himself in disbelief. Didn't Wei Lizho obtain the admission qualification by relying on the social assistance program? Wei Lizho rolled his eyes at him, who told you that? Do you want me to find out the tuition receipt and have a good look at it for you? Yu Weiyun's face was a bit embarrassed, and his voice was awkward. I don't mean anything else, I also heard what my classmate said. Yu Weiyun couldn't help feeling a little regretful when he thought of his various behaviors towards Wei Lizho before. Wei Lizho's voice was puzzled, I don't know if you have bad eyesight, do I look like someone who is good at reading? When Father Wei heard this, he nodded in agreement, they really don't have good eyesight. Even if I get presbyopic in the future, I won't be able to recognize you as someone who can read. Hearing what their father and son said, a smile flashed across Yu Yiqing's indifferent eyes. In the previous life, Wei Lizho was asked about his family background by Yu Weiyun not long after he got along with Yu Weiyun. So there was no such ridiculous situation as it is now. Zhu Qingyu's mother, Lu Jing, seemed to be a different person in an instant. She smiled all over her face, and smiled courteously at Father Wei. This is really flooding the Dragon King Temple. My family doesn't recognize my family. Mr. Wei, this is all a misunderstanding. Don't take it to heart. Now, I am here to apologize to you. Wei Lizho curled his lips in disgust, and muttered in a low voice. Who are you in the same family? Our family is poor and settled, but we can't afford it. The office is such a big place. Although Wei Lizho spoke in a low voice, everyone could hear him clearly. The smile on Lu Jing's face did not change, and she continued with a cheeky face. Today's incident is all due to the wrongdoing of my unlucky child. Lu Jing stared at Zhu Qingyu pretendingly, and scolded. You child, why are you so ignorant, why don't you hurry up and apologize to your Uncle Wei and classmates Wei Lizho? Zhu Qingyu also knew that he and his mother were not on a firm footing in Zhu's house, so he lowered his head extremely obediently and said, I'm sorry, Student Wei, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have provoked you, which caused this incident. Wei Lizho. Where did the mother and son learn the face-changing technique? This face-changing level is simply at the master level, and you can start classes. Lu Jing smiled and continued. However, I think the principal's handling is indeed a little inappropriate. Since my son Zhu Qingyu took the initiative to pick the matter first, then I should punish my son, how can I punish classmate Wei? If you want to punish Wei Lizhou, then let my son claim Wei's punishment as well. Naturally, Wei Lizhou was too lazy to do the cleaning work. Hearing what Lu Jing said, he immediately said, "Did you say it yourself?" Lu Jing and several other parents nodded repeatedly, "It's us who said it. It's because these unlucky children are not good, so we should let them learn from the pitfalls." Seeing that they had negotiated, the principal also said aloud, "Since you have all discussed it and reached a consensus, then this matter is settled. Now that the school is over, it is not too early, and the children are already here. After a day of class, why don't you take your children home and rest?" Lu Jing nodded. What the principal said is that it is indeed getting late. Lu Jing looked at Father Wei, her voice full of anticipation. "Mr. Wei, my husband mentioned to me that you brought your family to live in Haicheng before. He originally wanted to treat your family to a simple meal as a landlord, but he didn't expect to be here with you today. Hit. I think it is better to hit the sun than choose the day, or let our family treat your family to a home-cooked meal tonight. We can also take this opportunity to accompany the sin and express our apologies. Zhujia Company happened to be discussing a cooperation project with Wei's group recently. But the progress was not very smooth. Wei Xingnan, the current leader of the Wei group, has been reluctant to make concessions in the negotiations. It was precisely because of this that Father Zhu planned to follow Father Wei's route and let Father Wei put pressure on Wei Xingnan. Lu Jing knew that Father Zhu attached great importance to this cooperation project with Wei's group, so she wanted to see if she could turn the crisis into an opportunity and make a great contribution. After all, if Father Zhu found out what happened to Zhu Qingyu at school, both mother and son would definitely be scolded by Father Zhu. However, Lu Jing's wishful thinking was about to come to nothing, and Father Wei rejected her proposal without hesitation. Wei's father said to Wei Lizhou, "Let's go, if you don't go home, your mother will talk about it." Wei Lizhou started to leave, but just 2 steps away, he slapped his forehead suddenly, turned back, and grabbed Yuiqing's arm. "I almost left you here. Let's go, let's rub my dad's hand today. Free ride." Before Yuiqing could react, Wei Lizhou swiftly pulled him out of the director's office. In the corridor, Yuiqing broke away from Wei Lizhou and took his hand, and said in a cold voice, "Thank you for your kindness, but I still plan to take the bus home by myself." Before Wei Lizhou tried to persuade him, Father Wei said enthusiastically, "Little classmate, don't be shy. Uncle will take you home, that is, just drop by. You don't have to worry about causing any trouble to Uncle." Yuiqing. He just didn't want to stay with this familiar father and son. Wei Lizhou also directly put his arms around Yuiqing's shoulders. "That's right, why are you so shy? We are at the same table, and there will be many troubles for each other in the future. Only if there is a relationship, it will last for a long time. Have a relationship with Wei Lizhou. For a long time." Yuiqing fell silent for a moment. Chapter 11. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the end, Yuiqing failed to resist the enthusiastic offensive of Wei Lizhou and his father, and was taken into the car by them. However, he got out of the car when he was close to home. After all, he still has tutoring work to do in the evening. Zhu Qingyu, Lu Jing and others soon left the office. When Yu Weiyun followed Yan Kaichen out of the office, he was still full of grievances. After he learned of Wei Lizhou's identity, he began to think about how to close his relationship with Wei Lizhou. But Yuiqing, as his elder brother, didn't even think about giving Wei's father a ride home when he hitched a ride home. Yu Weiyun lowered his eyes, and said to Yan Kaichen beside him, "I thought my brother would take me home along with it, but he seems to have forgotten the existence of my brother." Seeing his aggrieved appearance, Yan Kaichen comforted him. "Don't be sad. My driver is waiting at the school gate now, and I'll ask him to give you a ride too." Yu Weiyun pursed her lips, "Isn't this too much trouble for you?" Yan Kaichen smiled, "It's just a small matter, it's not troublesome." If you don't feel sorry, you can invite me to your house later, just drink 2 cups of tea. Yu Weiyun didn't want Yan Kaichen to see the old look of their house. He showed some embarrassment. Our house doesn't have any good tea, so I'm worried that you won't be used to drinking it. How about I invite you to have a cup of coffee near my house? Let's have a cup of milk tea. Yan Kaiken's brows and eyes were gentle, with a smile on his face. It's okay, I'm not picky, even if you invite me to drink plain water. I'm mainly curious about the environment you grew up in. Yu Weiyun raised his eyes and saw Yan Kaiken's gentle appearance. His cheeks couldn't help getting slightly hot, and he said softly. You said that, don't dislike our shabby home later. The figures of the two quickly disappeared outside the office, but if you listen carefully, you can still hear Yan Kaichen asking Yu Weiyun if his parents are at home tonight. At this moment in the office, the principal stood up and cleared his throat, and looked sternly at Director Luo, who was behind the desk with a dejected expression on his face. Now the students and parents have left, Director Luo, it's your turn to do a good review. Cough cough cough, principal, I'm still here. Yi Panbai was squeezed into a corner of the office by the parents just now. Hearing a voice suddenly appearing behind him, the headmaster was almost taken aback. He turned around and saw Yi Panbai sitting on a low stool in the corner. The principal looked puzzled. Student, when were you here? Yi Panbai. Principal, I came earlier than you, but you didn't notice. If he hadn't followed just now, he would have missed this great show. The principal looked speechless. Okay, this classmate, you should go home too, the principal still has something to say to the director. Okay, then I won't bother you. Yi Panbai smiled gloatingly. What could be the matter, isn't Director Luo going to be criticized? Sure enough, just 2 steps out of the office, Yi Panbai heard the principal's merciless scolding from the office. In the office, Director Luo listened to the principal's scolding, feeling aggrieved and afraid. Why is he so unlucky? How did he know that he was just on a business trip, and there was such a difficult student in the school? Wei Lizho had never attended social gatherings with Father Wei and the others before. Therefore, those who know his family background are only close relatives and friends around him and bamboo horses who grew up together. After scolding Director Luo, the principal said directly. Director Luo, in view of your major work mistakes in handling this matter. On behalf of the school, I ask you to copy the school rules 10 times, and at the staff meeting at the end of this month conduct a personal review of the matter. Director Luo responded with a bitter face. He was really ashamed now. Even the school gardener would attend the staff meeting. Director Luo usually didn't even look straight at the school's support staff, such as the gardener, but now he wanted to make a speech in front of those people. Director Luo felt that he would have no face to face anyone in the future. This time it is really embarrassing to go to Grandma's house. Here, after Wei Lizho sent Yu Yiqing near his home, he also arrived at his home not long after. Wei's mother knew about Wei Lizho's fight through Wei's father as early as on the road. Just as Wei Lizho and Wei's father sat down on the sofa in the living room, Wei's mother Shi Shiran came downstairs. She walked up to Wei Lizho, and Wei Lizho yelled, "Mom," in a guilty conscience. Wei's mother looked at Wei Lizho with an inexplicable smile on the corner of her mouth. You are really your father's good son, let him go to the school to report on the first day of the report. Wei Lizho twitched at his mother flatteringly, Mom, I was forced to do this, I can't help it. If someone wants to hit me, I can't put my face on me and let him hit me casually. Wei's mother hummed angrily, this is the first time you have been forced to be helpless. If you were in water margin, you would have been forced to go to Liangshan more than 108 times. Seeing that Wei Lizho didn't dare to respond, Mother Wei looked at Father Wei, who was trying to reduce his sense of existence. Do you think your son is doing the right thing again this time? Father Wei scratched his head and muttered in a low voice. I really don't see where he is wrong. Wei's mother was so angry that she couldn't help giving their father and son a blank look. You two really deserve to be father and son. Write me a letter of self-criticism, and give it to me for inspection this weekend. Father Wei's face collapsed when he heard that, and he raised his leg and kicked Wei Lizho. Every time I support you, kid, I won't be able to lose one. Wei Lizho was also sullen. I'm unlucky too. Every time I finish a fight, I won't be able to lose one. Mother Wei heard what Wei Lizho said, and said. Since you know, why don't you see less fights? I've been so mad at you guys for a long time. Who is mad at our mother? Wei Xingnan walked into the living room while talking. Her reddish-brown wavy hair hangs down her back, and she wears a beige-colored silk shirt with dark blue suit pants, exuding a capable and elegant temperament. Mother Wei didn't smile when she saw Wei Xingnan, instead she snorted coldly. Where did the sunset fall today? This busy man got off work early enough today. It's not early in the morning, and I actually saw my daughter here. When Wei Xingnan heard Wei's mother say this, he smiled wryly at her flatteringly. Mom, the sunset is still setting from the west as usual. Mother Wei glared at her angrily. There is no one in the family who is reassuring. Wei Lizho saw that his sister Wei Xingnan didn't put on a good face in front of his mother, so he immediately laughed gleefully, and muttered to his father Wei who was sitting beside him. It's rare to see your precious daughter eat up. Father Wei patted his head angrily. Will you be able to talk? What do you call my precious daughter? There is no big or small. You have to call her sister. Wei Lizho covered his head in pain, and was about to speak when Wei Xingnan scratched him with the eye knife, threatening in an elegant voice. Be careful what you say, or you won't be able to take the lucky money this year. Wei Lizho thought of his sister's thick red envelopes every year, and he didn't dare to tease him anymore. Although he is not short of money, there are probably not many people in this world who would think there is too much money. Just at this time, the aunt in the kitchen had already prepared dinner, and Mother Wei said, Okay, stop talking, let's go eat. The Wei family doesn't have a rule of not talking when eating or sleeping, and everyone will chat casually during meals. Mother Wei thought of the neighbor next door to their house, so she said to Wei Xingnan, What's the situation with the neighbor next door? We've moved here for a while, and we didn't find a suitable opportunity to say hello to the neighbor next door. Wei Lizho also said aloud. The house next door is really mysterious. If I didn't see a nanny coming in and out occasionally, I would have thought that the villa was unoccupied. Wei Xingnan picked up a piece of braised pork ribs and said, That's the residence of Yan Runyu and his wife, the head of the Yan family who are engaged in medicine. They are very busy every day. When Mother Wei heard this, she said, The company authors are the same as you, are they all workaholics? Wei Xingnan shook his head lightly. That's not true. They are mainly running around for their children. I heard that their family used to have a child, but it must have been lost for more than 10 years. Apart from working these years, they have been and look outside for traces of this child. After hearing this, Wei's mother immediately sighed with emotion. It's a crime. If the child of this family is lost, the parents will have to die in a hurry. Father Wei also said. I've heard about their husband and wife. But I haven't found it after searching for so many years. I think the hope is slim. Wei Lizho didn't agree when he heard it and retorted. It's not sure, maybe they will find it if they look again. Father Wei shook his head. There is nothing so easy in this world. I don't care, anyway, my instinct tells me that there might be hope for this matter. Father Wei laughed straight away. Hey, is your intuition right? Why do I feel so unreliable? Wei Lizho rolled his eyes at Father Wei. Really, can't you expect me to be right? If my intuition is right, then this is a great thing. Father Wei curled his lips. All right, I'm looking forward to your approval from now on, this is enough. Wei Lizho. That's about the same. Hearing the conversation between the two of them, Wei Xingnan smiled and said to Wei's mother. I think Dad has always been lucky, maybe he will really look forward to this matter in the future. Wei's mother looked helpless. Why are you as out of tune as the father and son? Wei Xingnan smiled. Anyway, if it works out, it's indeed a good thing. Chapter 12. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's getting dark. At the dining table at Yu Weiyan's house, Yu Weiyan's parents were chatting about Yan Kaichen who came to visit just now. Yu Weiyan's father, Yu Gang, had a rough voice, laughed loudly and said to Yu Weiyan, I told you to go to a school for rich people like Jiahai, you really did the right thing. Look at the classmate you brought home just now, how many it's magnificent. When I sent him downstairs just now, the grandson of Lao Zhang who was at the door asked me if this was some rich relative of our family. Yu Weiyan's mother, Li Ro, was pouring beer into Yu Weiyan's father's glass with a beer bottle, and said with a smile, Student Yan is also very kind. If it weren't for the child Wei Yun, I might not be able to do it in my life. Know this rich young master. Yu Weiyan's expression was a little gloomy at this time, thinking of his parents' frugal and fawning petty appearance when they faced Yan Kaichen just now. He felt extremely ashamed. Mother Yu saw that Yu Weiyun was not in a good mood, so she smiled and put a steamed crab into his bowl. This crab is not cheap. Mom just got paid today, so I bought a few in the market. Try it, let's see how it tastes. When Yu Weiyun saw that his mother had to take out a few crabs to buy, she hated why her family was so poor. However, although Yu Weiyun had complicated emotions in his heart, he didn't dare to say those thoughts in front of his parents. He buried his head in eating the crabs in a gentle manner, one after another, and he and Father Yu were the only ones eating the whole plate of crabs on the dining table with their chopsticks. When Yu Weiyun was about to finish eating, he said aloud, Mom, you eat this crab too? Yu's mother smiled, You and your dad can eat it, I don't like this stuff. After Yu Weiyun gnawed another crab, he said to Mother Yu. Then did you keep the crab for brother? When Mother Yu heard him mentioning Yu Yiqing, she paused with her chopsticks, then smiled and said, He doesn't like to eat this either. Father Yu's mouth was full of alcohol, and impatiently said to Yu Weiyun. Anyway, the family where he is a tutor will leave him food, so you can hold on when you are full, so why not mind your own business? Yu Weiyun knew that although his father was rude and violent, he doted on him, so he retorted. He is my brother after all, it's normal for me to care about it. Father Yu snorted, It's just that you put him at ease. Look at his gloomy appearance all day long, does he seem to regard you as a brother? Hearing Father Yu's words, Yu Weiyun instantly remembered the matter of Yu Yiqing abandoning himself twice today. With grievance in his voice, he couldn't help but talk to his parents about what happened to him today. When Father Yu heard this, he was so angry that he slapped the table heavily. Mother Yu's always frowning face also instantly revealed a look of disapproval. At around 9 o'clock in the evening, Yu Yiqing came back from his tutoring. As soon as he opened the door, he saw Yu's father smoking a cigarette in the living room, and Yu's mother and Yu Weiyun were also sitting on chairs in the living room watching TV. Yu Yiqing was about to walk to his small room with his school bag on his back when he heard Yu's father scold him, Stop. What's the matter? Yu glanced at him, his eyes were as cold as a cold abyss. As soon as Father Yu met Yu Yiqing's eyes, he couldn't help but shudder, and suddenly felt a little apprehensive about his son. Originally, he had accumulated a lot of cursing, but in the end he could only choke out one sentence. I heard that you were at school today and didn't take good care of your brother. Yu Yiqing pulled his lower lip with a sneer, What? Does he have no hands or feet, and he needs someone to take care of him? Father Yu became angry when he heard it, and he stood up abruptly, What did you say, bastard? If you have the guts, tell me again. Yu Weiyun hurriedly stood up and stopped Father Yu, Dad, don't be angry. Brother is only 1 year older than me, and I really don't need him to take care of me. Yu Yiqing is 17 years old this year, and Yu's father and the others said that the brothers could have a support when they go to school together. So Yu Yiqing was asked to go to school 1 year later and wait for Yu Weiyun to be with her. Father Yu snorted, and said to Yu Weiyun. You treat him as your brother, does he care about you? You are so naive, sooner or later you will be bullied to death by such a heartless Yuiching. Yu Weiyun smiled wryly, Dad, no way. Brother, he definitely can't do such a thing. Yui watched Yu Weiyun's performance coldly. He was the one who sued him for being black, and he wanted to be a good person. Yu Weiyun's tricks have not changed over the years. Mother Yu also said softly at this time. Yiching, don't blame your father for being so angry, he is just a powder keg with a violent temper. Mother Yu looked at Yu Yiching with expectations in her eyes. Mom and Dad don't expect your brothers to be rich and powerful, but just hope that you two brothers can watch over and help each other. Weiyun is not an outsider. After all, he is a younger brother with the same blood as you. You can't be so indifferent to your family. Watch and help each other. Yu Yiching looked at Mother Yu's gentle appearance, his eyes filled with sarcasm and indifference. He asked in a calm voice. Didn't I already let him get a place in Jiahai? Isn't that enough to help each other? As soon as Yu Yiching said this, Yu's mother was instantly speechless in embarrassment. She opened her mouth and said with an embarrassed expression, did you hear any rumors outside? Yu Weiyun's expression froze instantly. He looked flustered, and hurriedly said to Yu Yiching. Brother, listen to my explanation. I persuaded my parents not to do that, but they didn't listen to me. I really can't persuade them. Yu Yiching ignored his explanation, walked straight into his room, and closed the door with a bang. When Father Yu saw Yu Yiching enter the room, he instantly felt less stressed. He said carelessly to Yu Weiyun and Yu's mother. Why are you so worried? He knows it when he knows it. Now that the matter is a foregone conclusion, how dare he still have an opinion? We have raised him for so many years, it is also time for him to pay for this family. Yu's mother glanced at the direction of Yu Yiching's room worriedly, and said with a sad face. My child's father, please don't say a few words. Yu Weiyun also showed grievance, it's all my fault, it's useless to blame me. Yu Weiyun's scores in the high school entrance examination were very average, so she was only admitted to a third-rate high school. But Yu Yiching passed the city's senior high school entrance examination and entered the best public high school in Haicheng without any problems. When Yu's mother saw Yu Weiyun's self-blaming appearance, her heart ached instantly, and she hurriedly comforted her. Don't take this matter to heart, it's all my idea and your father's idea. Your brother can't blame him, go on your head. When Yu Weiyun was a freshman in high school, she often cried with Yu's mother and the others about the lack of teachers in the school. Mother Yu and the others naturally felt distressed, so they planned to transfer Yu Weiyun to a private school. Yu Weiyun was arrogant, and felt that since he wanted to enter a private school, he had to go to the top noble school in Haicheng. But his grades were mediocre, and he couldn't get into Jiahai International School at all, so he put his thoughts on Yu Yiching's head. Under Yu Weiyun's suggestion, Yu's father and Yu's mother forced Yu Yiching to take the entrance examination for Jiahai's social assistance program. Yu Yiching's grades naturally made the school very excited, but Yu's father threatened the school that if the school did not admit Yu Weiyun at the same time, then they would not let Yu Yiching study in Jiahai. Yu's mother and the others always thought that they were hiding this matter well. Yu Yiching didn't know about it, but Yu Yi knew it well early on. Yu Weiyun looked worried, he raised his eyes and looked at Mother Yu. Mom, is what you said true? Brother, he really won't blame me. Mother Yu touched his head tenderly, don't worry. Mom will find time to chat with your brother, and make sure he won't blame you. Upon hearing this, Yu Weiyun smiled, okay, then I'll go back to my room to study first. Yu's mother nodded, go, Mom will make milk for you now to supplement your nutrition. As for Yu Yiching who entered the room here, he didn't take what happened in the living room just now to heart. He took out a dilapidated second-hand notebook from his school bag, which he bought from an internet cafe owner he knew from a previous job. This notebook was too damaged to be used, so Yu Yiching bought it back at a low price. Yu Yiching pulled out a maintenance toolbox from under the bed, and took out some computer replacement parts from his school bag. He sat at the table and repaired the laptop in an orderly and neat manner. After a while, he repaired the computer. The first thing Yuiching did after repairing his computer was to open the stock trading software. Various stock market trends, company announcements, and stock market-related news began to appear on his computer screen. With a clear mind, Yuiching began to conduct a careful analysis of the stock market situation with the help of the dim light in the room. He didn't intend to enter the stock market rashly. He planned to observe the market for a period of time and make a decision before making a move. Chapter 13. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Yu Weiyun, who lives in the room opposite Yuiching, is also controlling the only desktop computer at home at this time. This is why he asked his mother to buy it for him by using the computer to help him study. Yu Weiyun said at the beginning that the two brothers used it together, but since the computer entered Yu's house, it was sent directly to Yu Weiyun's room, and Yuiching never touched it once. Yu Weiyun's room was spacious and bright, and what appeared on his computer screen was the school forum. The fight between Wei Lizhou and the others today has been widely spread, and there are several related posts on the school forum. Yi Xiu Xian. I said, how dare an ordinary transfer student fight on the first day of the report, the company author is because his background is strong enough. This life and mathematics are irreconcilable. This time, Zhu Qingyu got into trouble, and he has been disliked for a long time. It is rare that someone can take care of him. Canteen fried chicken is the best. LOL, does that person in front dare to say this in front of Zhu Qingyu? Don't just yell at anonymous forums. This life and mathematics are irreconcilable. Don't tell me, Zhu Jia is not easy to mess with. What are you eating for lunch today? I didn't expect that besides the Zhu family and the Yan family who are not easy to mess with, there is now another Wei family. Silent Lamb. Ask me a question, does this matter have anything to do with Yan Kaichen and Yu Weiyun? Why did I see that they also went to the office today? Is this melon ripe? It's none of their business at first, but they can't help meddling in their own business, so they deserve to be ashamed and offended. Soy milk is 3. Sweet. Hee, it seems to be something. Say a few more words. Anyway, eating melons is not a big deal. Is this melon ripe? They didn't read the whole thing, and they just sidetracked in front of Director Luo, put on eye drops. Soy milk is 3. Sweet. Whose side is it? Upstairs is really tantalizing, I am so tired after eating melons. When will the Sonda Club close? It's still a matter of asking. Don't Yu Weiyun and Yan Kaichen have a good relationship with Zhu Jinyang? An enemy of an enemy is a friend. So they must be speaking for Wei Lizhou. Is this melon ripe? If that's the case, I wouldn't say they meddle in their own business, they deserve it. They actually helped Zhu Qingyu. This development, you did not expect it. Hee, I want to see how they explain it to Zhu Jinyang. Silent Lamb. Crazy Stone Man. I just want to touch fish and don't want to practice the piano. I'm not mistaken, is it because my eyesight is bad, or are they out of their minds? Is this melon ripe? That's right. These two people don't know what's going on, they have been helping Zhu Qingyu to talk, anyway, I'm taken aback. When Yu Weiyun saw these discussions in the forum, his face turned black with anger. Yu Weiyun doesn't need to guess to know that the "is this melon ripe" who broke the news is probably Yi Panbai. Only Yi Panbai could do this. Yu Weiyun was angry and ashamed, so he clicked the report button in the next post, hoping that the moderators of the forum would delete Yi Panbai's discussion. But what Yu Weiyun didn't know was that Yi Panbai himself was one of the moderators of the forum. Yi Panbai felt that his remarks did not violate the rules of the forum. Therefore, Yu Weiyun's request to delete the report was rejected. This made Yu Weiyun even more angry. Yu Weiyun was about to speak in the forum to guide the direction of public opinion, when suddenly the phone rang and it was from Zhu Jinyang. There are a lot of people who want to please Zhu Jinyang, so naturally, some people immediately report to him about Yu Weiyun and the others. Zhu Jinyang became furious when he heard this, and felt that he was betrayed by Yu Weiyun and Yan Kaichen at the same time. Yu Weiyun also felt a headache when he saw Zhu Jinyang's call. The reason why he helped Zhu Qingyu to speak at that time was just to make Wei Lizhou and Yu Yiqing unhappy. Unexpectedly, instead, he caused a lot of trouble for himself. It's like lifting a rock and shooting yourself in the foot. After Yu Weiyun answered the phone, it took a lot of effort to appease the angry Zhu Jinyang and turn the matter over. The next day, Yu Weiyun went to school by herself without waiting for Yu Yiqing. As soon as he walked into the front door of the classroom, he found that everyone in the classroom was talking about what happened yesterday. Among them, Yi Panbai, who spoke the most vigorously, was standing on the podium, surrounded by many people around the podium. Yi Panbai was beaming with joy as he spoke, dancing with his hands. You weren't at the scene yesterday, you didn't see how powerful Wei Lizhou is, and you beat Zhu Qingyu's useless group to the ground in no time. When Zhu Qingyu and his group found out about Wei Lizhou's family background, the change in their expressions was amazing. The acting skills of the actors in our entertainment company may not be better than Zhu Qingyu and the others. Yi Panbai, we already know what you said. Tell us about Yu Weiyun and Yan Kaichen. We are even more curious about how they got into Zhu Qingyu's camp. Yi Panbai put on the appearance of a storyteller. Using the pencil case in his hand as a gavel, he took the pencil case and slapped it on the podium table. Since you are all curious, I will continue to tell you about it. Yu Weiyun, who was outside the crowd, finally couldn't bear it anymore. He deliberately coughed heavily, and seeing the eyes of everyone around the podium looking over, he pursed his lips and protested to Yi Panbai. Yi Panbai, the classroom is a place for studying, not for you to gossip. Yi Panbai, the little fat man, was not afraid of him at all, and retorted. There is no class yet, am I interfering with anyone's study? People around laughed and echoed. Who is interested in studying now? This study is not as interesting as listening to gossip. That's right. I have to study, and I have a lot of time to study today. It's not even time for morning reading, so why worry? This classroom is so big. Those who want to study can't choose other spacious places. Why do they have to go here? Yu Weiyun's face was slightly flushed by these anger, but he couldn't stop them. In the end, he stomped his feet vigorously in anger, turned around and walked out of the classroom with big strides, choosing to be out of sight and out of mind. But as soon as he walked out of the classroom, he ran into the class teacher Li Ruyu head on. Yu Weiyun, come to my office, I have something to talk to you. Teacher Li, the class teacher, called out to stop Yu Weiyun. In the office. Yu Weiyun stood in front of the class teacher's desk, and asked softly. Mr. Li, did you call me here, what's the matter? The class teacher took out a class report card from the drawer. She took a pen and clicked on Yu Weiyun's grades on the watch, and said seriously. Yu Weiyun, the scores of the tests in various subjects have been calculated a few days ago, and your grades rank in the middle and lower reaches of the class. Regarding this, do you have anything to say? Yu Weiyun lowered his head and said softly. Teacher, I will work hard. The homeroom teacher didn't see Yu Weiyun's determination on study from his face. She sighed in her heart, and said coldly to Yu Weiyun. You have to take care of your studies. Don't blame me for speaking harshly. You are a student who came in through the social assistance program. You and most of the classmates in the class are the same. It's not the same. They have many options besides studying, but your options are very limited. The head teacher hoped that Yu Weiyun would listen to what he said, but Yu Weiyun only felt that the head teacher was deliberately belittling and insulting him. His extremely sensitive self-esteem made him feel like he was the only joke in the office now, and those teachers who seemed to be preparing lessons must be laughing at him in their hearts. But in fact, there is a certain distance between the desks of each teacher, and the head teacher deliberately lowered his voice just now, and the rest of the teachers couldn't hear what they just talked at all. Yu Weiyun lowered his head even more. He tried his best to conceal his resentment towards the teacher in charge, and forced his voice out of his throat to perfunctory. "Teacher, I understand. I want to go back to the classroom to study." Seeing his appearance, the class teacher knew that he didn't listen to what he said, so he said helplessly. "Okay, you can go." Yu Wei-yun immediately turned and left the office. The class teacher looked at his leaving back and sighed heavily. These are two brothers, why is there such a big difference in vision? Yu Yiqing is always the first in his grade in the back exams, but Yu Wei-yun came to this school with great difficulty, but he doesn't cherish his learning opportunities. Chapter 14. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. In the classroom, Yi Panbai was enthusiastically displaying his talent as a storyteller on the podium, but when he saw Wei Lizhou's figure appearing in the corridor outside, he immediately jumped off the podium. "Why don't you talk about it? I haven't listened to it yet," Yi Panbai said without turning his head. "If you want to hear it, just ask others." Although Yi Panbai could boast about Wei Lizhou's behavior yesterday in front of others, but if he told the person concerned, he would be embarrassed. Yi Panbai still remembered the episodes of discord he had with Wei Lizhou yesterday. Yu Yiqing was already sitting in his seat at this time. As soon as Yi Panbai returned to his seat, he immediately said to Yu Yiqing who was sitting behind him. "Wei Lizhou will come later, you are not allowed to tell him what I just said." Although Yi Panbai felt that Yu Yiqing was a quiet person, he still felt that he would be more at ease by reminding him first. Yi Panbai didn't expect Yu Yiqing's boring gourd to give him a definite answer. Anyway, Yu Yiqing didn't answer, so he took it as a tacit agreement. As soon as Wei Lizhou entered the classroom, he happened to see Yi Panbai turning away from Yu Yiqing. Wei Lizhou went straight to his desk against the eyes of everyone in the class. He casually stuffed his school bag into the drawer, sat down on the seat and casually said to Yu Yiqing. "I can't see, you still have friendship with the little fat guy in front. Thinking too much." Yu Yiqing flipped through the foreign language medical book in his hand without looking up. "Then how did I see him talking to you? What did he say to you? Does he want to bully you again?" Yi Panbai has been quietly listening to their conversation behind him with his ears up. Hearing Wei Lizhou arrange himself like this, he was so angry that he ground his molars. Can't Wei Lizhou, a bastard, think of him in a better way? However, Yi Panbai was also worried about whether Yu Yiqing would tell what he had just said. Yi Panbai kept his ears open when he heard Yu Yiqing Chao Wei Lizhou say. "He told me not to tell you what he said just now." Wei Lizhou was puzzled now. "Hey, you are my desk mate, why are you still protecting him? He told you not to tell me what he said, but you actually listened to him." Yu Yiqing. Forget it, anyway, he has truthfully relayed Yi Panbai's words. As for Wei Lizhou's understanding of love, let him do it. Yi Panbai was so angry that he gritted his teeth, but this Yu Yiqing really did not keep his word, and actually said what he said. But after hearing that Wei Lizhou had misunderstood Yu Yiqing's meaning, he let out a "poochie" and couldn't help laughing out loud. When Wei Lizhou saw Yi Panbai's silly look in front of him, he couldn't bear it. Laughing like a fool. When Yi Panbai heard his words, he turned his head angrily. "Who are you calling a fool?" Wei Lizhou leaned against the back of the chair, and said indifferently. "I didn't name names, why are you so excited?" Yi Panbai was choked by his words, speechless for a moment, glared at him viciously in anger, and finally turned back to his seat to sulk. Wei Lizhou is a jerk. Who laughed like a fool? Wei Lizhou is the fool. 2 days after Wei Lizhou transferred to another school, Yi Panbai found out that he was too clumsy when it came to quarreling. Yi Panbai decided to incorporate the improvement of quarrel skills into his future training courses. Otherwise, every time he quarreled with Wei Lizhou, he would always regret that he didn't perform well. And Wei Lizhou, who had won back a city from Yi Panbai, felt refreshed at this moment. Let this little fat man groan, won't he be wilting now? However, Wei Lizhou's good mood did not last long. Holding the pen in his hand, he looked at the blank composition paper on the table with a headache. The fight review letter requested by his mother is too difficult to write. It must be profound, but also full of emotion and sincere content. Wei Lizho was unable to write for a long time. He stared at the composition paper in a daze for a long time, and rumpled his black hair frantically. Wei Lizho felt that when he wrote the composition for the Chinese exam, he was not as serious as when he was writing the review letter now. After all, no matter how well written, the test composition only needs to be written once. But the review letter was different. If he didn't satisfy his mother, he would be rejected and sent back to write it again. What's even more tragic is that the second draft may not necessarily be stable. Wei Lizho fidgeted and scratched his head, which was naturally seen by Yu Yiqing. Yu Yiqing glanced at the composition paper on Wei Lizho's desk. Almost an hour later, Wei Lizho wrote 3 words, a letter of self-criticism. Wei Lizho raised his head, just in time to catch Yu Yiqing's eyes. In an instant, he was like a drowning man grabbing a life-saving straw, and he was so excited that he directly held Yu Yiqing's forearm with both hands. Yu Yiqing, how is your composition? Yu Yiqing froze for a moment. It's okay. Wei Lizho's eyes lit up instantly. Then can you help me write the letter of self-criticism? No. Yu Yiqing broke away from Wei Lizho holding his hand, and refused without hesitation. Wei Lizho was instantly wilted like an eggplant beaten by frost. He was dejected, and lay directly on the desk. I really have nothing to write, no inspiration. My mother still insists that my self-criticism must be deeper every time. Isn't this just trying to embarrass me? Wei Lizho sighed again and again throughout the morning, and it was almost endless, which directly annoyed Yu Yiqing. Yu Yiqing took out a piece of composition paper from his school bag, picked up a brush and began to write. After a while, he slapped the paper full of words heavily in front of Wei Lizho, who was still mourning. When Wei Lizho saw the dense content, he immediately became excited. Good desk mate. You are worthy of being my good desk mate. Wei Lizho made a gesture to give Yu Yiqing a big grateful hug. Yu Yiqing raised his eyelids and glanced at him, and said coldly, if you touch me again, I will take back this paper. Wei Lizho hurriedly put the composition paper on the table into his arms, and smiled flatteringly at Yu Yiqing. Don't, this is your kindness to me, how can I waste your hard work in vain? Yu Yiqing. Wei Lizho opened his mouth to speak, and he began to regret it a little. Wei Lizho carefully took out the self-criticism letter written by Yu Yiqing from his arms. Holding the letter of criticism in both hands, he was amazed as he read it. Look at how well written this letter of criticism is. This literary talent. Awesome. This opinion. Awesome. This handwriting. Awesome. Yu Yiqing. Shut up. He doesn't want to hear the words "no" break in his ears and continue the single cycle. Wei Lizho chuckled, and said with emotion. I'm actually quite good at complimenting people, but now I can't remember it for a while. Yu Yiqing. He didn't believe a word of Wei Lizho's words. Wei Lizho carefully observed the review letter that Yu Yiqing wrote for him again. After reading it for a while, he said, everything about this review letter is good, but there is one thing that is not very good. Yu Yiqing looked up at him, rarely wanting to hear his ideas. Wei Lizho sighed, and said. The handwriting is so beautiful, it doesn't look like me at all, so I have to copy it again myself. Get cheap and sell well. Yu Yiqing glanced at the self-criticism letter in Wei Lizho's hand, and carefully calculated how successful he was in snatching it back from Wei Lizho's hand. Feeling the fierceness in Yu Yiqing's eyes looking at him, Wei Lizho hurriedly smiled at him. Just kidding, don't take it seriously. Do you think I look like such a thick-skinned person? Yu Yiqing raised his eyelids and glanced at Wei Lizho. With cold and disgusted eyes, he vividly explained his answer. Wei Lizho hurriedly shouted for grievances. Can I, Wei Lizho, be such a person who doesn't know what is good or bad? I can't. I am the most gracious person. Wei Lizho felt that this letter of self-criticism would definitely not be the last letter of self-criticism in his high school career. He might have to ask the cultural person next to him for help in the future. So he has to take the long-term route of sustainable development, and he can't offend his deskmate right now. Yui Qing, who didn't know what Wei Lizho was thinking, was now more and more suspicious of whether he made a mistake in helping to write this review letter. He originally wanted to use this letter of self-criticism to silence Wei Lizho's sighing mouth. But after Wei Lizho solved the trouble of the review letter, he didn't see him being much quieter. Seeing that Wei Lizho was about to chatter again, Yui Qing hurriedly spoke before him. Shut up, say one more word, and return the letter of self-criticism to me. Hitting the snake for 7 inches, Wei Lizho hurriedly swallowed the words that reached his throat. He shut his mouth tightly, and made a special gesture to Yui Qing to zip up his mouth and seal it. Yui Qing. Didn't Wei Lizho sit at the same table with him for only 2 days? Why did he feel that these 2 days seemed a bit long? After Wei Lizho transcribed the self-criticism letter that Yui Qing had written for him, seeing that the troubles of the self-criticism letter had been resolved, he immediately regained his energy and became alive and well. After class, when Zhu Jinyang brought Yu Weiyun over to find Wei Lizho was flipping through the Chinese textbook with great interest. The Chinese textbook used in Haiqing is different from the Chinese textbook Wei Lizho used in Yuqing before. Wei Lizho is reading the Chinese textbook as a storybook. Zhu Jinyang stood in front of Wei Lizho's desk. He coughed deliberately, intending to attract Wei Lizho's attention, but Wei Lizho was immersed in the stories in the textbook, and did not notice his and Yu Weiyun's arrival. Zhu Jinyang felt a little ashamed, and when he was about to get angry, Yu Weiyun pulled his arm to remind him. Thinking of his own reason for coming, Zhu Jinyang had no choice but to hold back the anger in his heart. He knocked on Wei Lizho's desk, and Wei Lizho raised his head when he heard the voice. Seeing that it was the two of them, he asked in bewilderment, "What's the matter?" Zhu Jinyang felt that Wei Lizho might not know who he was, so he introduced himself to him. "I'm Zhu Jinyang from the Zhu family." Wei Lizho. Of course he knew that he was Zhu Jinyang, and he even knew that he and Yu Weiyun were the protagonists. Wei Lizho said. "So. What do you want from me?" Zhu Jinyang didn't expect Wei Lizho's reaction to him to be so cold. The reason why he came to look for Wei Lizho was because he wanted to win over Wei Lizho, so as to achieve the goal of getting along with the Wei family. Zhu Qingyu and his mother Lu Jing were severely reprimanded by Zhu's father last night. Zhu Jinyang was naturally quite relieved when he saw that scene. And because of this, he understands that it is a great thing for him to make friends with Wei Lizho. Zhu Jinyang tried his best to let go of his airs, and it was rare to be condescending. He suggested to Wei Lizho. "The seat you are sitting in is not good. There is an empty seat in front of my seat. Why don't you change to my side?" Zhu Jinyang felt that when Wei Lizho heard his invitation, he should readily accept it, but he didn't expect that Wei Lizho repeatedly refused as if he had encountered a scourge. No. I'm fine staying here, very comfortable. If you think the location is good, keep it for yourself. Wei Lizho felt that unless he was stupid, he would rush to join Zhu Jinyang and the others. Otherwise, he wished to keep a distance of hundreds of thousands of miles from them. When Zhu Jinyang saw Wei Lizho's disgusted look, his anger shot straight to the top of his head instantly. He didn't expect Wei Lizho to be so disrespectful to him when he was rarely invited. He was immediately angry and ashamed, and was speechless about Wei Lizho's reasons for refusing. He is alone, why does he need 2 positions? Zhu Jinyang wanted to shake his sleeves and turn around to leave on the spot, but was held back by Yu Weiyun. Yu Weiyun whispered to Zhu Jinyang. "Let me persuade him, maybe he will change his mind." Only then did Zhu Jinyang stop angrily and leave. Chapter 15. You are listening at novelfull.audio. With a soft voice, Yu Weiyun softly said to Wei Lizho. Student Wei Lizho, what happened yesterday was all a misunderstanding. I am here to apologize to you for my recklessness yesterday. But, can you tell me, why don't you want to switch places? No. Yes. Wei Lizho paused every word. Why did Yu Weiyun have to say when Yu Weiyun asked? He still remembered what this person did yesterday. Yu Weiyun. Yu Weiyun also felt that talking to Wei Lizho was really angry. But in order to win him over, he had no choice but to suppress his anger, forced a smile and persuaded. The sight here is not good, and it is easy to reflect light, so you can't see the content on the blackboard. We only want to do it for your own good. Let me change your position. Wei Lizho put his hands on the back of his head and leaned against the chair. You guys are really kind to me, aren't you? Yu Weiyun nodded. Wei Lizho. You really want me to change places, don't you? Yu Weiyun nodded again. Wei Lizho hooked his lips. That's good, if you want me to change it, then bring my tablemate Yu Yiqing along with you. Yu Yiqing, who was flipping through the books. Wei Lizho didn't mention his name once. What would happen? Hearing what Wei Lizho said, Yu Weiyun's face suddenly showed embarrassment, and he said in a difficult tone. It's not that I don't want to help my brother change seats, but we only have one vacant seat left. Wei Lizho raised his eyebrows and smiled, and said with a grin. What's so difficult about it? If you really think about me, you can swap your positions with ours. How simple is that? Yu Weiyun was instantly choked by Wei Lizho's words. Zhu Jinyang looked at Wei Lizho angrily. If you don't want to change this position, just say so. Don't embarrass us with such words. Wei Lizho pretended to be helpless and spread his hands. I said it. I said a long time ago that I don't want to change positions. It's because you didn't listen and insisted on persuading me to change. Zhu Jinyang thinks about it, it really is. He showed embarrassment, pulled Yu Weiyun's arm, and said angrily. Let's go. If he doesn't change, he won't change. Anyway, after he misses this village, there will be no store. Even if he wants to change to the position in front of me in the future, I won't allow it either. Yu Weiyun didn't expect Wei Lizho to make things difficult for them. He glanced at Yu Yiqing thoughtfully, and then followed Zhu Jinyang's footsteps and left. Seeing them walking away, Wei Lizho turned his head to Yu Yiqing and said, at the same table, do you know why I didn't change to their place? Don't say I didn't remind you in advance. I will tell you something quietly now, secret. Yu Yiqing raised his eyes to look at Wei Lizho, seeing Wei Lizho's serious expression, rare for such a serious face. Yu Yiqing was also curious about the secret that Wei Lizho said. Wei Lizho leaned close to Yu Yiqing's ear mysteriously, and murmured in a low voice like a wizard. Yu Weiyun and Zhu Jinyang both have an ominous aura. Don't get close to them, we will become unlucky. Yu Yiqing. Could rebirth lower the IQ? Why did he take Wei Lizho's words seriously? Yu Yiqing thinks what he should do most now is not to get close to Wei Lizho, he will become stupid. Wei Lizho saw Yu Yiqing distanced himself from him with a cold face, and felt that Yu Yiqing didn't take his words to heart, so he said solemnly. At the same table, you must listen to my words. Wei Lizho was worried that his deskmate would become a cannon fodder who had repeatedly failed and fought like in his prophetic dream. The reason why Wei Lizho dared to confront Zhu Jinyang and Yu Weiyun was because he knew that as long as he didn't serve as Yu Weiyun's backup, he wouldn't go down the dead end like the precognitive dream. But Yu Yiqing neither has a prominent family background, nor is he protected by Zhu Jinyang like Yu Weiyun. If he wants to deal with Yu Weiyun and the others, how can he win Yu Weiyun's protagonist group by himself? Wei Lizho felt that he cared enough about this tablemate. But I can't help that this tablemate doesn't care about him. Seeing that Yu Yiqing didn't respond to his words, Wei Lizho said earnestly. My deskmate, what I say is all good words, you must listen to them. Go in. When Wei Lizho mentioned this matter to Yu Yiqing's ear for the nth time that day, Yu Yiqing finally couldn't bear it anymore. Yu Yiqing! Shut up! Yu Yiqing closed the book with a snap, stood up suddenly, left his seat, and walked towards the outside of the classroom. Wei Lizho! Where are you going? Get the school uniform. Although he was impatient with Wei Lizho's verbosity, Yu Yiqing still answered Wei Lizho aloud. Wei Lizho heard it. That's just right, you reminded me. The administration office just sent me a message saying that my school uniform has arrived. Don't go so fast, wait for me, I will go get it with you. Wei Lizho got up hurriedly and caught up with Yu Yiqing. Each school uniform of Jiahai International School is tailor-made according to the body shape of the students, and it takes a certain amount of time to make. Apart from Wei Lizho and Yu Yiqing, the students who don't have school uniforms now are Yu Weiyun. Therefore, when Wei Lizho and Yu Yiqing walked to the administrative office, they happened to see Yu Weiyun and Zhu Jinyang coming out of the office of the administrative office. Yu Weiyun was also carrying a black translucent exquisite handbag with the school badge printed on it. The neatly folded school uniform can be vaguely seen inside the bag. In addition to regular clothes for the 4 seasons, there are sportswear, school badges and other items. When Yu Weiyun saw Wei Lizho and Yu Yiqing, he was also a little surprised. But after thinking about it, he thought it should be because Wei Lizho didn't know the way to the administrative office, and Yu Yiqing was just helping him lead the way. Yu Weiyun was worried that Yu Yiqing would his school uniform, so she asked Yu Yiqing knowingly, and deliberately asked Yu Yiqing. Brother, did your parents give you the money to buy the school uniform? No. Yu Yiqing raised his eyes and glanced at Yu Weiyun, wanting to see what tricks he was going to play again. When Yu Weiyun heard Yu Yiqing's reply, his face was very surprised, and he pretended to say. Ah! Didn't they give it to you? I thought they gave you the money for the school uniform a long time ago. You are just like me now. He's here to get the school uniform. Yu Weiyun looked aggrieved. I'll go home at night, I must ask them what's going on. Yu Weiyun handed the handbag to Yu Yiqing. Brother, let me give you my school uniform. Although these school uniforms are all custom-made according to my figure, it doesn't fit you well, but it's better than nothing. You just wear my school uniform for a while, and when I go home at night, I will ask my parents to buy the school uniform again. When the time comes, after your school uniform is customized, you can just return the school uniform to me. Yu Weiyun retreated to advance, thinking that Yu Yiqing must be embarrassed to ask for his school uniform now. Hearing their conversation, Wei Lizho guessed that Yu Yiqing paid for the school uniforms himself. And the parents of the 2 brothers probably secretly gave Yu Weiyun money to buy school uniforms without telling Yu Yiqing. Can't get used to Yu Weiyun's behavior when he got cheap, Wei Lizho suddenly interjected. Yu Weiyun, are you really so generous? When Wei Lizho asked this question, Yu Weiyun of course only had one answer. He looked open and generous. Yes, my brother is older than me after all, so I should let him go. Zhu Jinyang snorted coldly, feeling sorry for Yu Weiyun in his heart, his voice was shady. I've only heard that elder brother takes care of younger brother, but I haven't heard of the principle that younger brother takes care of elder brother. Yu Weiyun pulled Zhu Jinyang's arm, it doesn't matter, we are a family anyway. Wei Lizho glanced at Zhu Jinyang disdainfully, did you hear that? The 2 brothers didn't say anything, why are you objecting here as an outsider? After Wei Lizho finished speaking, he stretched out his hand to Yu Weiyun, since you are so sincere, then hand over the bag to me. I have a way to get the best of both worlds. Yu Weiyun suddenly clenched the bag containing the school uniform in his hands with some reluctance, feeling a bit ominous in his heart. Seeing this, Wei Lizho slightly raised his eyebrows, what? Are you reluctant? Yu Weiyun naturally couldn't let Zhu Jinyang show his hypocrisy and regret in front of him. Reluctantly, he handed the school uniform bag to Wei Lizho, pretending to be considerate and said. This school uniform may not fit well, if it doesn't look suitable, I can only bear with it for a while. Wei Lizho said mysteriously. You don't have to worry about this matter, I have a solution. Yui glanced at Wei Lizho, feeling inexplicably that Wei Lizho was suffocating. Chapter 16. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Wei Lizho took the bag from Yu Weiyun's hand, he went straight past Yu Weiyun and Zhu Jinyang, and walked towards the boy who was walking slowly behind them. Yu Weiyun looked at Wei Lizho with puzzled eyes. After seeing Wei Lizho stop the boy, he whispered a few words to the boy, and the boy instantly smiled, and took the school uniform bag from Wei Lizho's hand. Yu Weiyun was immediately stunned. What the is Wei Lizho doing? Seeing that Wei Lizho returned empty-handed, Yu Weiyun finally couldn't take it anymore. Why did you give him the school uniform? Wei Lizho pretended to be stupid. Who gave it to him? I sold it to him. What? Yu Weiyun's eyes widened in shock. Wei Lizho. He is about the same size as you, and he also wants to buy school uniforms, so I just sold the school uniforms to him at the original price. Wei Lizho seemed to be afraid that Yu Weiyun would not be angry enough, so he shook his phone at Yu Weiyun. I have all the money. Didn't you say to ask your parents for money tonight? Then the money is now go buy school uniforms for Yu Yiqing first. Anyway, there is not much time left in between. Yu Weiyun gritted her teeth in anger at this moment. Wei Lizho also deliberately looked at Yu Weiyun, and said suspiciously. Didn't you just keep saying that you would be humble to your brother? You shouldn't have any objections to this matter. I believe you are definitely not the kind to say what you want to do. A set of people. Yu Weiyun was forced by what she said just now, so she couldn't get off the stage, so she had to slap her swollen face to pretend to be fat, and forced a forced smile. It's okay, let's use this money to buy my brother's school uniform first. Wei Lizho tried his best to hold back a smile and nodded, and deliberately boasted to Yu Weiyun. You really deserve to be your brother's good brother. Wei Lizho looked at Yu Yiqing, who had been silent all this time. Let's go to the political office. As Wei Lizho spoke, he dragged Yu Yiqing inside. Halfway there, he suddenly turned around and said to Yu Weiyun, oh, by the way, when you need money tonight, you can ask your dad mom, why are they both sons? One has money to buy school uniforms, but the other doesn't. Yu Weiyun was already angry enough in his heart, but he didn't expect that Wei Lizho would deliberately say this to run on him. His eyes turned red instantly, and he said wrongly to Zhu Jinyang. How can I decide about my parents, Wei Lizho? Why did he take his anger out on me? Zhu Jinyang couldn't see Yu Weiyun's wronged appearance, patted him on the shoulder distressedly, comforted him and said. Don't be sad, Wei Lizho is just an unreasonable hooligan. Yu Weiyun is aggrieved and puzzled now. What's so good about Yu Yiqing? He's gloomy like a ghost all day long. Why does Wei Lizho help him find fault with him? And why Yu Yiqing has become so selfish now? He never robbed his own things before. Yu Weiyun sounded aggrieved, and said to Zhu Jinyang. I don't care about the school uniform, but my brother seems to take my kindness to him for granted, and never considers my difficulties. The money I bought for the school uniform was also very difficult. I just asked for it from my parents. I really have no face to ask them again. Seeing Yu Weiyun's appearance, Zhu Jinyang felt extremely distressed, and hurriedly patted his chest and said, isn't it just a few $1,000s for school uniforms? I'll help you pay for it. Yu Weiyun frowned in embarrassment. This is not good. Others will gossip about me if they know about it. Zhu Jinyang said carelessly. What's the matter? If you don't tell me, no one will know. Zhu Jinyang hugged Yu Weiyun's shoulders. Let's go, let's buy the school uniform from that person again. Zhu Jinyang and Yu Weiyun quickly caught up with the student. What? Are you taking me for a fool? Even Zhu Jinyang couldn't help being upset when he heard that it would cost half the original price to buy back the school uniform. He complained to the boy. You haven't got this school uniform for more than 10 minutes, right? Why did the price increase so much all of a sudden? The boy smiled at Zhu Jinyang. Brother Zhu, if you are not satisfied with the price, forget it. After all, I don't really want to sell it. If I go to the administration office to place a new order for school uniforms now, I will have to wait a little longer. Zhu Jinyang heard it. All right. Just this price, you show the payment code, and I'll scan it for you. Hearing the reminder that the mobile phone has received the account, the boy quickly handed the school uniform to Yu Weiyun, then smiled treacherously, and said to Zhu Jinyang. Thank you for being so generous, brother Zhu. If you need it in the future, please come to me again. Zhu Jinyang. Get lost. Although the boy was scolded, there was no annoyance on his face. He cheerfully turned around and walked towards the administration office with a little smug expression on his face. It's really easy to earn 10,000 pocket money. In the administrative office, Wei Lizho and Yu Yiqing were waiting for the staff to pick up their previously customized school uniforms. After Yu Yiqing received the money transferred from Wei Lizho, he couldn't help asking with some doubts. Why were you so sure that the boy came to the administration office to order school uniforms? Wei Lizho's brows and eyes flashed a bright smile. I'm not sure, I was fooled. Seeing some doubts on Yu Yiqing's face, Wei Lizho explained. I've already thought about it. If that boy says he doesn't want to buy school uniforms, I'll give him the money and ask him to take the school uniforms. Since if Yun wants to pretend to be generous, then even if I lose money myself, I will make him really generous once. Wei Lizho glanced at Yu Yiqing carefully, and added. However, don't worry, I will still transfer the school uniform money to you afterwards. Anyway, didn't Yu Weiyun say that you and him are a family? Then I will give the money to you. Your family is not at a loss, right? Yu Yiqing. What Wei Lizho did always puzzled him greatly. However, Yu Yiqing couldn't deny that when he saw Yu Weiyun's deflated appearance, he really felt a little relieved. When Wei Lizho and Yu Yiqing finished receiving their school uniforms and walked out of the administration office, they happened to meet the boy who just bought Yu Weiyun's school uniform. Wei Lizho accosted him familiarly. Brother, why are you back again? In a few words, the boy told Wei Lizho about the business he just made. Ha ha ha. Wei Lizho's burst of laughter instantly echoed in the entire corridor. He couldn't straighten his back from laughing, and his eyes burst into tears. After a while, Wei Lizho managed to stop his laughter. He patted the boy's shoulder approvingly. Brother, you are amazing. The boy waved his hand and said modestly, It's okay, I'm just doing things according to my ancestors' precepts. When Wei Lizho heard it, he became curious. What is your family's ancestral training? The boy proudly stretched out 2 fingers. My ancestors passed down 2 ancestral precepts. The first one is, you can't suffer from anything you eat. Wei Lizho was puzzled. What about the second article? Does it have anything to do with this matter? The boy smiled and said proudly. The second thing is, if you don't take advantage, you will suffer. Wei Lizho burst out laughing again. He gave a thumbs up and boasted. Then you are really worthy of the ancestral precepts left by your ancestors this time. The boy waved his hand modestly. It's average. I also lowered the price for them for the sake of school friendship. If it's someone I don't know, it's not the same price. It has to be doubled. When Wei Lizho heard it, he held back and said badly. You can't do this, how can you be worthy of your ancestors like this? Zhu Jinyang is a big family, isn't it because you look down on him by lowering the price? Couldn't he afford the price you gave? Wei Lizho approached the boy with benevolent temptation and said earnestly. Next time there is a similar opportunity, don't be so soft-hearted like today. Hearing Wei Lizho's words, the boy rubbed his chin and pondered, that's true. If he thinks the price is too high, I'll lower it slowly. After listening to their conversation, Yu Yiqing. Nav om, that is to say, Zhu Jinyang is not on the scene at this time. Otherwise, if he heard the conversation between the two of Wei Lizho, he would rather return the product on the spot and wait for a while, rather than being taken advantage of. As time passed, it was soon time to leave school. After school, Yui Ching went to the tutoring students first. Today is the last day of his part-time job, and the student will go to another city with his parents. Because it was the last day, Yui Ching finished work earlier than usual, and when he got home, Yu's family was having dinner. As soon as Yui Ching walked into the house and passed by the dining table, Yu's father suddenly slapped the dining table hard, and scolded Yui Ching. Yui Ching. Did you rob your younger brother's school uniform money? Yu's mother looked at Yui Ching, and said with a bitter face. Ching, you also know that the family's conditions are average, and you can't pay the school uniform fee for both of you brothers at once. You are an older brother, so why don't you give the money to me first? Your brother. When Mom gets her salary next month, I will give you money to buy school uniforms. Father Yu's voice was heavy. It's really raising a white-eyed wolf. His brother even gave him the money to buy school uniforms, and he didn't see him say, thank you. Yu Weiyun softly persuaded Yu's father. Dad, don't speak so harshly. You should calm down first, don't let your body go bad. Father Yu picked up the beer bottle and took a sip. Even if I'm sick from anger, I'm still angry from this white-eyed wolf. Yui glanced at the three people on the dining table, his eyes seemed to be chilled like ice, and his voice was full of sarcasm. How much is the school uniform worth for the 3 years of high school in Jiahai? Ever. Just Jiahai's one-semester tuition is worth 20 sets of school uniforms. As soon as Yui Ching said this, the expressions on the faces of the three people at the dining table were complicated. Yui Ching saw that they were as quiet as quails in embarrassment, so she went straight to her small room with her school bag on her back. Hearing the sound of Yui Ching closing the door, Father Yu slammed the beer bottle on the table, and said angrily. Isn't it because of him that Wei Yun got into this noble school? It's just such a trivial matter. How many times does he have to mention it? Yu's mother sighed, the child's father, please don't talk too much. But Ching is also the same, why has he become a little tempered recently? Father Yu took a sip of beer. Eat, don't mention this spoiler. Yu Weiyun lowered his head, thinking of what happened today, most of his appetite disappeared in an instant. Seeing his lack of appetite, Yu's mother asked worriedly, why did your child eat so little today? Yu Weiyun thought that since he was unhappy, then Yui Ching would not want to live comfortably. His voice was deliberately a few decibels higher than usual, and he raised his voice and asked, Mom, did you say brother has dinner outside? Shall we ask him to come out to eat together? When Father Yu heard his words, he yelled in a rough voice, what are you going to eat? Give him a meal, let him wake up, and see if he dares to speak so arrogantly in the future. The conversation between Yu Weiyun and Yu's father naturally passed through the door, and clearly entered Yui Ching's ears. Yui Ching looked at the stock page on the computer, his amber eyes remained calm, and the hand controlling the mouse did not stop at all. He has long been used to listening to conversations like this, and his heart is extremely peaceful at this moment. After dinner, Yu Weiyun usually got up and left after eating, but today he was uncharacteristically helping to clean up the dishes. Yu's mother couldn't bear to let him do the housework, so she said repeatedly. You just go to study, and leave these jobs for Mom to do. Yu Weiyun. Mom, let me help you, it's not too hard. Mother Yu smiled and said comfortingly. You are really sensible now, and you know how to help mother with housework. Yu Weiyun smiled, but didn't answer. When he was about to finish clearing away the dishes on the table, he walked up to Yu's mother and said in an aggrieved voice, Mom, all my classmates wear school uniforms. Now I'm the only one in the whole school who doesn't have school uniforms. Mother Yu smiled and touched his head, don't worry. There is still some money at home, and Mom will transfer the money for school uniforms to you right now. Yu Weiyun hugged his mother, Mom, you are so kind. I will definitely be filial to you and Dad in the future. Mother Yu's face was moved. I see, Mom will wait for you to let me enjoy life in the future. You can go to study. Mom can do the rest of the work. After successfully getting the money for the new school uniform, Yu Weiyun glanced at the back of his mother, who turned and walked into the kitchen to wash the dishes. He argued in his heart that he was not cheating money. Anyway, his parents' money will be left to him in the future. Yu Weiyun felt that he really needed money to live in Jia High School. After all, the food and clothing of his classmates were all spent on money. His pocket money is really not enough, and he desperately needs more from his parents. Thinking that he now has such a small treasury in his hands, Yu Weiyun's mood, which had been gloomy for most of the day, suddenly improved a lot. But his good mood only lasted for a short night, and it disappeared in the early morning of the next day. Chapter 17. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Yu Weiyun still came to school separately from Yu Yiqing today. But they went out at about the same time, so they met face to face at the school gate. In order to cover up in front of his parents, Yu Weiyun plans to take out the school uniform that Zhu Jinyang bought for him in 2 days, so now he is still wearing private clothes. When he saw Yu Yiqing's well-tailored school uniform, doubts flashed across his face. Didn't Yu Yiqing just place an order for school uniforms yesterday? Why are you putting them on now? Yu Weiyun tentatively asked Yu Yiqing. Brother, didn't you just order the school uniform yesterday? Yu Yiqing raised his eyelids and glanced at Yu Weiyun, who was blocking his way. Who told you that I just placed the order yesterday? Yu Weiyun understood instantly, and his voice was angry. You lied to me yesterday. Yu Yiqing's eyes were cold and gloomy, and the corner of his mouth curled up a little mockingly. When did I lie to you? You only asked me if they gave me money to buy a school uniform, but you didn't ask me if I bought a school uniform. Yu Weiyun's face turned red with anger. You're obviously hiding it on purpose. Yu Yiqing's thin lips parted slightly, and his voice was icy cold. Didn't you hide it from me first? Isn't it because you were so hypocritical yesterday, because you were afraid that I would know that they gave you money to buy school uniforms? Yu Weiyun's voice was indignant. I didn't. You are dirty. What are you talking about? Wei Lizho suddenly rushed out from behind Yu Weiyun, interrupting Yu Weiyun's words. Wei Lizho walked to Yu Yiqing's side, and naturally put his hand on Yu Yiqing's shoulder. Yu Yi gave him a sideways glance, then raised his hand and swept it away. Wei Lizho. How stingy, isn't it just a shoulder? Who is he trotting over in such a hurry for? Is it because he is afraid that Yu Yiqing will suffer from Yu Weiyun? The dissatisfaction in Wei Lizho's heart didn't last for 2 seconds, and he immediately put the matter behind him, and turned to Yu Yiqing to ask the topic just now. Why are you standing here if you don't go to school? Yu Weiyun was worried that Yu Yiqing's talk about their conversation just now would make him unable to get off the stage, so she hurriedly said. I didn't say anything, just a little thing at home. Small matter. Wei Lizho glanced at Yu Weiyun suspiciously. Yu Weiyun nodded hastily. Seeing more and more people looking towards the three of them, Yu Yiqing was impatient with their attention, and said, Class is about to begin. After he finished speaking, he turned and walked into the school gate, and walked towards the teaching building. Wait for me. Wei Lizho trotted a few steps, following Yu Yiqing's pace. At this time, Yu Weiyun still had the idea of drawing Wei Lizho to his side, so he trotted to catch up with them. As soon as Wei Lizho followed Yu Yiqing, he complained to Yu Yiqing. Why did you run away without waiting for me? While Wei Lizho was speaking, his hand rested on Yu Yiqing's shoulder naturally again. Yu Yiqing once again mercilessly swept away his hand on her shoulder. Yu Weiyun noticed the episode between the two of them, so he said to Wei Lizho. Student Wei Lizho, my brother is a bit weird. He doesn't like to have close physical contact with people, even our family members are the same. Wei Lizho pursed his lips, with some impatience in his tone. What's so strange about this? It's so rare. Yu Yiqing, who heard this from the side, rarely flashed a faint smile in his eyes. Wei Lizho seems to have a bit of intelligence when it comes to people off. When Yu Weiyun heard this, his face was instantly embarrassed, and he clenched his fingers tightly in anger. Wei Lizho seemed to think that Yu Weiyun was not annoyed enough. He glanced at Yu Weiyun's private clothes, and said, "To be honest, when all the students in the school are wearing school uniforms, you are the only one wearing private clothes. In the eyes of most people, you are the weirdest. Didn't Zhu Jinyang buy school uniforms for you? If you don't wear school uniforms, you still want to continue to be unique." At this moment, Yu Weiyun was so angry that his face was hot and red. He thought that he had fooled the matter of the school uniform just now, but he didn't expect Wei Lizho to pick up which pot he didn't open. Yu Weiyun's resentment had not subsided until the Sonda class in the afternoon. Wednesday afternoon is the interest class time for all students in the school. In addition to regular cultural courses, Yaoi International School also offers many interest courses. The school requires each student to take a course of interest and pass the teacher's final course assessment before they can get the corresponding credits. Yaoi's interest class is a small class system, and each teacher only leads 5 or 6 students. Yu Weiyun chose Sonda class, but the person beside him now is not Zhu Jinyang, but Yan Kaichen. Zhu Jinyang took tennis lessons, and Yan Kaichen happened to take Sonda like Yu Weiyun. There are not many people who choose Sonda, so there are only 2 interest groups in the Sonda class. After Yu Weiyun learned from Yan Kaichen that he also chose Sonda, he chose the same teacher as him. The Sonda class has a special indoor training room. The venue is extremely spacious, there are fighting rings and many training equipment. It is arranged like a professional Sonda club. Both Sonda classes are held in the training room at the same time. Before the official class, Yu Weiyun and Yan Kaichen sat on the non-slip rubber floor of the venue. Yu Weiyun and Yan Kaichen vomited bitterness, telling about the grievances he had suffered in the past 2 days. After hearing this, Yan Kaichen frowned slightly, showing disapproval on his face. "How could Yu Yiqing treat you like this?" Yu Weiyun looked innocent, and sighed, "I don't know how my brother became like this. Maybe it's because I didn't do well enough, which made him feel dissatisfied with me." Out of the corner of Yan Kaichen's eyes, he noticed that Yu Yiqing and Wei Lizho were walking in from the entrance of the venue, and he asked Yu Weiyun, "Are both Yu Yiqing and Wei Lizho also taking Sonda classes?" Before that, Yan Kaichen had been preparing for his violin competition, and took time off from Sonda class to practice piano. Now that the competition is over, he came to Sonda class for the first time. Yu Weiyun nodded. "My brother chose Sonda before, but he is not the same teacher as us. As for Wei Lizho, he probably followed my brother in choosing it." Yan Kaichen glanced at the scene where Wei Lizho and Yu Yiqing were talking not far away. He turned his head and said to Yu Weiyun, "I will find an opportunity later to avenge you for the past 2 days." Yu Weiyun was stunned for a moment, then blurted out, "How do I report it?" As soon as he said the words, he realized that his words violated his usual image, and hurriedly made amends. "Forget it, let this go like this. I don't want to care about so much, it will only make me unhappy." Yan Kaichen smiled at him. "You are so easy to talk, but you are easily bullied." Yu Weiyun pretended to be generous, and said with a smile, "Isn't it said that suffering is a blessing? Just treat it as accumulating blessings for me." The corners of Yan Kaichen's mouth raised slightly. He was non-committal to Yu Weiyun's words. He turned his head and glanced at Yu Yiqing, and quickly looked away again. The interest subject teachers of the 2 classes soon appeared in the venue. After everyone put on the full set of gloves and body protection, they started warmed up and training under the leadership of their respective teachers. The teacher who led Wei Lizho and Yu Yiqing to train was named Zhang Kai. After a while, he realized that Wei Lizho had a training background, so he called Wei Lizho out of the pair training team. "Zhang Kai, have you practiced before?" Wei Lizho nodded. "I have practiced for several years." Zhang Kai pointed to Yu Yiqing and the rest of them, and told Wei Lizho, "They are all beginners. When you practice against them, remember to hold back your strength." "Teacher, how about I come to be your teaching assistant?" Wei Lizho suggested to Zhang Kai with a smile. The things Zhang Kai taught were relatively basic, and Wei Lizho had already learned them by heart. When Zhang Kai heard it, he was really moved. Are you sure you can do it? A confident smile appeared on Wei Lizho's face. Is it okay, don't you know if you try it? Zhang Kai. Okay, then try to bring me 2 people and let them practice whip kick. Whip kick is the most commonly used kick in Sonda, and it is used frequently. Zhang Kai randomly ordered 2 students to come over. The same thought instantly emerged in the minds of the 2 students who were pointed out. Can't you change someone? Wei Lizho crossed his hips triumphantly, looked at Yui Qing and Yi Panbai in front of him, and said in a flamboyant tone, You two, first call me master to listen, and then I will start preaching and accepting karma for you. Yui Qing raised his hand quickly, and raised his voice towards Zhang Kai. Teacher, I refuse to let Wei Lizho teach me. Yi Panbai also hurriedly raised his hand. Teacher, I don't want Wei Lizho to take me to practice. I apply. Before Yi Panbai finished speaking, Wei Lizho hurriedly covered his mouth anxiously. Standing between Yi Panbai and Yui Qing, Wei Lizho threw his bow left and right, wrapped one arm around a person's shoulder, and forcibly brought Yui Qing and Yi Panbai to a corner on the side of the stadium. Yui Qing and Yi Panbai quickly broke away from Wei Lizho. Wei Lizho looked at the 2 people in front of him, and muttered aggrievedly. I was just joking, why do you 2 take it seriously? It was rare for Yi Panbai to see Wei Lizho deflated in front of him, and he suddenly became arrogant, and raised his airs. Do I still need to call you master? Yui Qing also glanced at Wei Lizho. Wei Lizho hurriedly admitted, It's okay if you don't need it. I admit defeat. Wei Lizho pursed his lips and muttered. These days, it's so difficult to think about becoming a teacher. Sigh, the current students are really not as good as one class. Yi Panbai rolled his eyes directly. We are the first class you brought. Where did you come from the previous class, so you can compare and draw this conclusion? Wei Lizho choked suddenly. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration, and said in a serious tone. When I say, one session is not as good as one, it means that the previous session will never be as good as the next session. And you 2 are the worst students I have ever had. So no matter how bad the students I lead in the future, they will be better than the 2 of you. Yi Panbai. You are simply making too much sense. Wei Lizho raised his brows proudly. Why am I being so unreasonable? You said it. Yi Panbai. You're just making excuses. Wei Lizho raised his eyebrows lightly, and Jiao Erlang retorted. Then you are just messing around and fighting for 3 points unreasonably. It's obvious that you are messing around. I also said that you are messing around. Yui Qing was air-conditioned. You 2, have you quarreled enough? The conversation between these 2 people was so childish that if someone said that they were second graders in primary school, Yui Qing would not have the slightest doubt. Sensing the cold breath emanating from Yui Qing's words, both Wei Lizho and Yi Panbai were silent for a moment, but in the next second they began to shirk responsibility from each other. It's Yi Panbai who wanted to quarrel with me. Whoever wants to quarrel with you, don't put gold on your face. It's you who want to be with. If you don't want to teach me, I'll let the teacher teach you. Yui Qing directly interrupted Wei Lizho. He seriously doubted that if these 2 people continued to quarrel, they would be able to fight for a day here. Teach, teach, teach. Wei Lizho was afraid that he would lose this rare opportunity before becoming a teacher for a second, so he hurriedly said, I'll teach now. Wei Lizho glared at Yi Panbai, little fat man, stay away from me, don't interfere with my teaching. I'm going to be serious now. Yi Panbai rolled his eyes speechlessly, did you forget that the teacher told you to teach me too? Wei Lizho patted his forehead suddenly, look at my memory. But whoever told you to keep arguing with me made me forget about it. If you learn from Yui Qing's attitude of respecting teachers, how could I forget you? Yi Panbai. Wei Lizho is blind or suffering from paranoia. How did he see from Yu Yiqing's ice cube face that he has an attitude of respecting teachers and respecting morality? Yi Panbai was too lazy to continue arguing with Wei Lizho, because he suddenly felt that he was a little silly arguing with Wei Lizho. After the noise, Wei Lizho also began to teach seriously. Wei Lizho gave them a simple demonstration of the whip leg movement in Sonda, and disassembled the movement. After explaining it in detail, he asked Yu Yiqing and Yi Panbai to try to practice it by themselves. After Zhang Kai taught the other 3 students, when he came to see Wei Lizhou's progress, he patted Wei Lizhou's shoulder approvingly. "It's not bad, you can teach people well." Wei Lizhou cocked his tail proudly in an instant. "Teacher, your vision is really good, you are simply a contemporary bull." Yi Panbai, who was practicing on the side, rolled his eyes instantly when he heard Wei Lizhou's words. After Wei Lizhou noticed his little action, he borrowed the pointer from Zhang Kai, and poked Yi Panbai's calf forcefully in retaliation. "How many times have I told you? When kicking, the leg needs to use the power of turning the waist. I sent it out, and my toes were stretched. Why do you have no memory?" Yi Panbai grinned at him angrily. "It's because you didn't teach well." Wei Lizhou raised his eyebrows, and retorted in a very embarrassing tone. "Then why is Yu Yiqing's movements so standard? They are also taught by a teacher. How do you explain this?" Yi Panbai was speechless for a moment, and could only endure the aggrieved. Seeing Yi Panbai deflated, Wei Lizhou's brows and eyes were instantly stained with a bright and flamboyant smile. Yu Yiqing was standing beside him to rest at this time. Wei Lizhou patted him on the shoulder carelessly, and said with a smug smile, "Fortunately, there is a student like you who gives me a face." Yu Yiqing. Not far away in the arena, Yan Kaichen was practicing with Yu Weiyun at this time. From the corner of his eyes, he secretly watched the noisy scene of Yu Yiqing and the others, and a thought flashed in his eyes. "Let's stop and have a rest first," Yan Kaichen suddenly suggested to Yu Weiyun. Yu Weiyun naturally had no objection to this. After Yan Kaichen stopped practicing, he walked towards Su Lei, the teacher in charge of their class. Yu Yiqing glanced over inadvertently, and after seeing Yan Kaichen and Su Lei finish talking, Su Lei approached Zhang Kai. After the 2 teachers went to the side and discussed for a while, they each returned to the training ground of their own class. When Yu Yiqing was thinking about whether Yan Kaichen was going to plan something, he heard Zhang Kai whistle and call them to gather. Wei Lizhou was still reluctant to part with him. "I haven't had enough of being a teacher yet, why did I gather so soon?" Chapter 18. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhang Kai clapped his hands, and seeing that the gathered students were all focused on him, he said to them, "You have been practicing for almost a month, why don't you have a match against the class next door today? In this way, you can just test your own learning results." Yi Panbai has a big addiction to cooking, and he was the first to agree. "Teacher, I have no objection. I can too." "Me too." Yu Weiyun and his team are also full of support, and are very interested in this sudden duel. The 2 teachers quickly and casually arranged the order of the battle. What Wei Lizhou got was the number 6 at the back. When he saw that the number 6 on the opposite side was actually Empress Yan Kaichen, he curled his lips in disgust. "It's really boring, why did I just meet him?" Wei Lizhou remembered that in the prophetic dream, this Yan Kaichen was also one of Yu Weiyun's spare tires just like him. However, Yan Kaichen, the spare tire, was better off than him, and he inherited and took over the Yan family company extremely smoothly. The only regret is that he was not able to be with Yu Weiyun. The battle started soon. Yi Panbai got the number 1, and he happened to be facing Yu Weiyun. Before Yi Panbai stepped into the arena, Wei Lizhou hooked him around the neck and said deliberately, "Fight me hard. If you lose my face and lose my face, then I will kick you out of the division." Yi Panbai, I wish you would sever this master-student relationship with me sooner. The 2 students who got number 1 hurry up to the ring. Hearing the teacher's urging, Yi Panbai also hurriedly ended the chat with Wei Lizho. This game is just for fun, and the rules of the game are not as strict as the official Sonda game. Seeing that both Yi Panbai and Yu Weiyun had already stood up on the ring, Zhang Kai, who was acting as the referee, said to the two of them. One game will determine the outcome. As long as you use boxing, kicking and other Sonda moves reasonably to hit the opponent's body once, you will be considered as a winner. Points. Whoever gets 5 points first wins. The game will start soon. The rest of the people gathered around the ring to watch the battle between the two. Since they were all beginners, the game was not very exciting and ended quickly, but in the end Yi Panbai scored 5 points first and defeated Yu Weiyun. Yi Panbai had just stepped off the ring, and before Yu Weiyun had gone far, Wei Lizho smiled and said to Yi Panbai. Not bad, you boy. Although it's all pecking at each other, but at least you won the pecking. When Yu Weiyun heard Wei Lizho's words, his heart, which was already depressed because of losing the game, instantly became even more unhappy. But Yi Panbai was speechless for a moment. Are you boasting? Wei Lizho laughed loudly, I'm telling the truth. Soon it was the turn of the next group to play. Wei Lizho was not interested in this match, so he said to Yu Yiqing beside him, who are you fighting against? Yu Yiqing. On the opposite side is a boy with a cropped hair and glasses. Wei Lizho looked across the ring and saw Yan Kaichen walking towards that boy. He frowned, why is Yan Kaichen looking for that man? When Yu Yiqing heard Wei Lizho's words, he also looked in the direction of Yan Kaichen and the others. Wei Lizho guessed suspiciously. Why do I feel that this kid seems to have malicious intentions? Looking at his face, I don't think he is a good person. Yu Yiqing didn't answer, but some thoughts flashed in his eyes. The second battle was over soon. When seeing Yan Kaichen appearing in front of Yu Yiqing on the ring, Wei Lizho suddenly realized, and muttered. I just said that this kid must have no good intentions. The company author is planning to change the order of the battle with others. He is doing it specifically for Yu Weiyun. Come and find Yu Yi to clear the place. Wei Lizho originally thought that Yan Kaichen looked like a gentleman, and that he would fight like a novice like Yu Yiqing in a fight. But as soon as the game started, Wei Lizho immediately saw that Yan Kaichen should be the same as him, and also had several years of training experience. Wei Lizho saw that Yu Yiqing had only time to defend and had no power to fight back on the stage, so he was so angry at Yan Kaichen, he said dissatisfiedly. Yan Kaichen is really scheming. Could it be that the persimmons are just picking up the weak? Come and fight me. Yu Weiyun looked at Yu Yiqing's distressed appearance on the ring at this time, but secretly gloated in his heart. Yu Yiqing deserved it, whoever made him unhappy these days, it's okay now. The game quickly ended in a one-sided manner. As soon as Yan Kaichen stepped off the ring, Yu Weiyun happily moved to his side. You are too good at Sonda, I didn't know you were so good before. Yan Kaichen smiled softly, I was just learning to play when I was free, so I didn't tell everyone. Yi Panbai has been standing beside Wei Lizho. Seeing that Yu Yiqing lost, he said to Wei Lizho, just now you said that if I lose, you will expel me from the school. Now that Yu Yiqing has also lost, why don't you also lose? Are you going to drive him out of the division? Wei Lizho raised his eyes and glared at him, why are you so unloved? Shouldn't we be thinking about how to avenge Yu Yiqing now? Yu Yiqing walked near them, and when he heard Wei Lizho's words, he couldn't help but glance at Wei Lizho. But Yi Panbai was instantly aggrieved. Wei Lizho, you are too partial. Why is there such a big difference in treatment between me and him? Wei Lizho glanced at him in disgust, aren't you talking nonsense? I don't prefer Yu Yiqing, who is at the same table with me, but you who are against me all day long. Yi Panbai choked for a moment and had nothing to say. Wei Lizho ignored Yi Panbai, turned his eyes to the opposite side of the ring, rubbed his chin, looking thoughtful. The next few sets of battles were all over quickly. Wei Lizho was in the last group. After finishing his opponent, he was not in a hurry to get off the ring. He suddenly turned around and hooked his fingers towards Yan Kaichen, who was in the audience. "Yan Kaichen, do we want to have a fight?" When the two teachers heard the words, there was a bit of interest in their eyes. After all, these two students have certain strengths. When Yu Weiyun heard Wei Lizhou's invitation to fight against Yan Kaichen, he complained to Yan Kaichen in a dissatisfied voice. Wei Lizhou is obviously trying to fight for Yu Yiqing. Yu Weiyun was upset to see Wei Lizhou protecting Yu Yiqing so much. He couldn't help but suggested to Yan Kaichen. "Yan Kaichen, why don't you fight Wei Lizhou too?" Yu Weiyun secretly hoped that it would be best for Yan Kaichen to disown Wei Lizhou's prestige and help him vent his anger. A bit of hesitation flashed in Yan Kaichen's eyes, but when he saw the provocative eyes of Wei Lizhou looking at him on the ring, a bit of disgust for Wei Lizhou flashed in his eyes. Yan Kaichen walked onto the ring slowly. "Then let's do a few simple tricks." Chapter 19. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wei Lizhou's brows and eyes were instantly stained with excitement. Zhang Kai, who was still serving as the referee, saw that both of them were wearing protective gear, and after adjusting their condition, he said, "The game is about to start. A round is won by 5 points. While Yan Kaichen was still carefully observing the opportunity to attack, Wei Lizhou took the lead in launching the attack. He quickly approached Yan Kaichen, pretending to attack Yan Kaichen's jaw with an uppercut. Yan Kaichen's conditioned reflex was about to block his attack. Wei Lizhou seized his defensive flaws that were instantly exposed due to fake moves, and quickly turned to hit his head wearing protective gear with a left uppercut. After a successful blow, Wei Lizhou kicked his feet on the ground, retreated quickly and flexibly, and instantly opened the distance from Yan Kaichen, avoiding Yan Kaichen's hot pursuit of counterattack. Zhang Kai couldn't help applauding Wei Lizhou's series of actions for an instant. His voice was a little excited. Wei Lizhou scored a point. The current score is 1.0. In this battle, when Yan Kaichen met Wei Lizhou, it was like a mouse meeting a cat, being played around by Wei Lizhou. With a loud bang, Yan Kaichen was thrown onto the floor of the ring by Wei Lizhou. Yu Weiyun under the ring exclaimed, "Yan Kaichen, are you alright?" Yan Kaichen quickly stood up unharmed. He patted the dust off his body. Wei Lizhou paid attention to restraining his strength when attacking. Coupled with the protection of the protective gear, Yan Kaichen's whole body was not damaged at all. But not being injured doesn't mean Yan Kaichen is happy. With a sullen face, he looked unwillingly at Wei Lizhou, who was smiling brightly in front of him. Zhang Kai walked up to Wei Lizhou and raised Wei Lizhou's right hand high. 5.0, Wei Lizhou won. Everyone present applauded. Although Yu Weiyun felt depressed, he could only follow the crowd and applaud Wei Lizhou to celebrate. After the get-out-of-class bell rang, everyone changed out of their sportswear and put on their school uniforms, and walked out of the stadium one after another. When Wei Lizhou and Yu Yiqing walked out of the arena, Wei Lizhou kept talking excitedly to Yu Yiqing about the battle he just had with Yan Kaichen. Wei Lizhou habitually put his hand on Yu Yiqing's shoulder again, and said with a proud smile, "That guy should be left to suffer. Let's see if he dares to treat you like a persimmon next time." Yu Yiqing glanced at him at the hand on his shoulder, and saw Wei Lizhou's face full of smiles out of the corner of his eye. He pursed his lips and said nothing. Even if Yu Yiqing remained silent, Wei Lizhou still spoke happily by himself. "Did you see Yan Kaichen's blackened expression just now?" Wei Lizhou clapped his hands regretfully. "It's a pity that I didn't take a picture of his appearance at that time, so I can only recall it in my mind. It's just that his face is a little gloomy, not to the point of black carbon." Yu Yiqing heard that Wei Lizhou's words became more and more exaggerated, and finally couldn't help but refute. Wei Lizhou chuckled. "Never mind him. Anyway, today I can tell from his masked face with a fake smile all day long that he is upset." Yu Yiqing thought about it. Really, it was rare for him to see someone like Yan Kaichen showing such an obviously unhappy expression like today. Yu Yiqing's indifferent eyes couldn't help flashing an imperceptible faint smile. When the interest class is over, it is already school time. While the two were talking, the figure quickly drifted away. The news that Wei Lizhou and Yan Kaichen had a fight in the Sonda class quickly spread wildly among the teachers and students of the school. The next day, when everyone arrived at the school, they were all gossiping about it. I heard that Yan Kaichen was completely crushed yesterday. Wei Lizhou's skills are really amazing. Why didn't I enroll in the Sonda class and enroll in the pottery class, or I could have seen two handsome guys fighting yesterday. Why do you hate Wei Lizhou? Did Yan Kaichen offend him? Knowing that you like Yan Kaichen, you feel sorry for him, don't you? Wei Lizhou is not bad looking, why don't you consider choosing someone else to like you? My tablemate took Sonda class yesterday, and she used to have Yan Kaichen's kind of gentle play. But last night, she told me that she has already crawled. The wall went to Wei Lizhou's side. Good guy, Wei Lizhou has already offended the Zhu family and the Yan family. If he offends the Lu family and the Yi family after a while, then he will gather together the four major families in Haicheng. The Wei family has developed rapidly in the past few years. Even if Wei Lizhou offends the children of the four families, he may not need to be persuaded. Speaking of which, when I went to the hospital to visit relatives after school yesterday, I happened to see Yan Kaichen. Could it be that he was injured by Wei Lizhou? Probably not. I heard from people who attended the class that Wei Lizhou's strikes were measured and did not hurt Yan Kaichen. Then why did he go to the hospital, and it's not the hospital opened by the Yan family? I saw him come out of the doctor's office with my own eyes, and I thought he didn't dare to let his family know that he was injured, so I went to another hospital. Woolen cloth. You're so curious, why don't you ask Yan Kaichen? Are you deliberately trying to see me cause trouble? Wei Lizhou can offend Yan Kaichen, but my family is not as awesome as his family. Just kidding, let's go to class. Grade 2, Class 8, Classroom. After the bell rang after school was over in the afternoon, the head teacher Li Ruyu stood on the podium and said to the audience. In order to better carry out teaching activities and help everyone improve their academic performance, our teachers of each subject have decided to carry out interactive activities in this class after discussion. Help each other to study group activities, everyone is free to form a team, and the number of members in each group is limited to 3.4 people. After the head teacher finished the notice, he quickly walked out of the classroom. The students in the class were discussing enthusiastically at this time, thinking about who to find to form a team with. Wei Lizhou turned his head to look at Yu Yiqing, who was reading a book, at the same table. Let's go together. Yu Yiqing didn't care about this matter, he nodded indifferently. Seeing that Yu Yiqing agreed, Wei Lizhou stroked his chin and said, then our group is only one person short, so we can be regarded as a successful team. Who should we turn to? Yi Panbai has been paying attention to the movement of Lizhou behind him since the head teacher finished the notice. When Wei Lizhou said that there is still one person missing, his ears moved. Wei Lizhou glanced around the students in the class tangledly, and found that he knew none of them. Wei Lizhou. It's really troublesome, there is only one person left, who can I find? Hearing Wei Lizhou's words, Yi Panbai was so angry that he scratched the table unconsciously with his fingers. Is this Wei Lizhou blind? Didn't he realize that there was a very suitable candidate in front of him? Wei Lizhou, do you want to form a team with us? Zhu Jinyang suddenly came over and invited Wei Lizhou. His sudden appearance surprised both Wei Lizhou and Yi Panbai. Seeing Wei Lizhou's undisguised astonishment, as if he had seen a ghost, Zhu Jinyang couldn't help but itch his teeth. Zhu Jinyang hated Wei Lizhou from the bottom of his heart, and didn't want to make friends with Wei Lizhou, but he couldn't stand his grandfather asking him again to win over Wei Lizhou and make friends with Wei Lizhou. On the surface, Zhu's family is currently in charge of Zhu's father, but Grandpa Zhu Jinyang has a lot of power in his hands. It is also because of his grandfather that Zhu Jinyang, who is not loved by his father, can speak in Zhu's family. Yu Weiyun also followed Zhu Jinyang, and Zhu Jinyang had already told Yu Weiyun about his grandfather and his instructions. Because of this, Yu Weiyun also understands that it is very necessary to make friends with Wei Lizhou. Standing beside Zhu Jinyang, Yu Weiyun echoed, and persuaded Wei Lizhou. There are 2 people in our team now, and you can form a team with you. You just transferred from another school and don't know many people. Forming a team may be a bit difficult. Now many people have already formed a team. If you don't form a team, you may be left alone in the embarrassing situation. Although Yi Panbai was sitting upright at this time, as if he was as stable as Mount Tai, but he was anxiously wishing to turn around and cover the mouths of Yu Weiyun and Zhu Jinyang. What's the matter with these 2 people? There are so many people in the class who can be found. Why did they find Wei Lizhou, this annoying ghost? Although Yi Panbai felt that the possibility of Wei Lizhou agreeing was not very high, he was still so worried that his heart beat. After all, even if Wei Lizhou wanted to bring Yu Yiqing with him, they would form a group of 4, and the number of people would not exceed the limit. Yi Panbai hastily pricked up his ears, for fear of letting go of any movement behind him. After Wei Lizhou heard Yu Weiyun's words, he glanced at Yu Yiqing who was beside him. Without the slightest hesitation, he turned to Zhu Jinyang and refused. I already have teammates, so I won't be with you. When Zhu Jinyang heard his words, he immediately dismissed the idea of inviting him, but Yu Weiyun refused to return so disappointed. He asked Wei Lizhou. Who is your teammate? Maybe we can work together as 2 teams. Wei Lizhou hastily refused. No, no. You should hurry up and form a team with other people. Wei Lizhou felt that it was better to minimize the contact between his tablemate and Yu Weiyun and Zhu Jinyang, the protagonists. Yu Weiyun saw Wei Lizhou's attitude of avoiding them like a snake. He immediately understood that if he wanted to make friends with Wei Lizhou, he still had to spend some effort and time. At least today it was impossible. After Yu Weiyun and Zhu Jinyang left, Wei Lizhou turned to Yu Yiqing and said, I just rejected their proposal to form a team with us. You shouldn't object to this, right? Yu Yiqing raised his eyes and glanced at him. What gave you the illusion that I would object? Wei Lizhou touched the back of his head and said with a smile, It's fine if you have no objection. Yu Yiqing. Now we are short of 1 person, who are you going to find? Yi Panbai had been quietly eavesdropping on the movement behind him, and when he heard what Yu Yiqing said, his heart immediately became aroused. In just a few minutes, his mood was ups and downs like a roller coaster ride. Wei Lizhou said to Yu Yiqing. Soldiers come to cover the water and soil, and see if there is anyone who did not form a team in the end. When Yi Panbai heard Wei Lizhou's words, he rubbed his fingertips and began to struggle. Or, he turned around to find Wei Lizhou and the others to form a team now. But this rush seems to make him a little positive. Yi Panbai began to fall into a whirlpool of distress.